Today, we are diving into a huge, kinda under-the-radar shift in global trade that's about to directly hit every single pharmaceutical and biotech company out there. And trust me, it's a change that was born from a global crisis, and it's coming a lot faster than you think.
So let's just cut right to it. Is your business ready for January 1st, 2028? I know, it sounds like it's ages away, but a massive overhaul of how medical goods are classified and tracked is barreling down the pipeline, and it's all a direct result of the hard lessons we learned from the pandemic.
You know, the COVID-19 pandemic really laid it all bare, didn't it? Our global systems for tracking crucial medical supplies, well, they just weren't detailed enough. When governments desperately needed to track vaccines, diagnostics, all that critical equipment, the old classification system was just too broad. And that madness, it slowed everything down right when speed was literally a matter of life and death.
And that's exactly why we're not just talking about some minor routine update here. No, what we're looking at is a massive, pandemic-driven overhaul of the entire system for classifying medical goods around the world.
So to really get what's happening, you have to know about Harmonized System Codes, or HS codes. Think of them as the universal language that customs officials all over the world use to classify every single product that crosses a border. The next big update to this language, HS 2028, is basically designed to add all the critical vocabulary we were so desperately missing during the crisis.
Now, let's get into the single biggest change in this entire overhaul. Before 2028, trying to track specific vaccines was a huge headache because, believe it or not, they were all just lumped together under one generic code. That is about to change in a really dramatic way.
The scale of this shift is just immense. I mean, we are moving from one single generic code for all human vaccines to a completely new system. This brand new heading, 30.07, is going to have 7 new categories and over 36 specific classifications for named vaccines. It's a leap from total ambiguity to incredible precision.
36 plus. Just let that sink in for a second. This is not just about adding a few new numbers. It's a complete restructuring that's going to allow, for the very first time, this super granular tracking of specific vaccines, like the ones for measles, polio, or, any future pandemic threats. This is the level of detail global health organizations have been begging for.
So, what does this actually mean for your business? Well, it means your internal data systems, specifically your item master database, where all your product DNA lives, they're going to need a serious overhaul. You have to redesign these systems to link your products to these new super specific codes. And you absolutely have to be ready for audits because you can bet authorities are going to demand justification for every single classification choice you make.
Okay, next up, let's talk about Active Pharmaceutical Ingredients, or APIs. Now, the story here is a little bit different. It's less about a ton of brand new codes and way more about a major increase in enforcement and scrutiny. The World Customs Organization sent a crystal clear signal. They said, and I quote, "The practical impact will increase." In plain English, that means global authorities are going to demand much more precise identification of APIs based on their International Non-Proprietary Name, or INN. That's the unique, globally recognized generic name for a drug. The days of kinda sorta classifying these are just over. So, to get ready, it really boils down to 3 key steps. First, you've got to link all that critical data, the INN, the CAS registry number, the SALT form, directly in your item master. Second, centralize all your evidence documents. We're talking safety data sheets, certificates of analysis, you name it. And third, start recording which version of the HS system you used for every classification. Traceability is now the name of the game.
And this slide right here shows you exactly what that evidence trail needs to look like. You can't just state the IN anymore. You need the certificate of analysis to prove it. You can't just claim a certain concentration. You need the product specifications to back it up. This is all about building an undeniable, auditable link between your product and its classification. No more wiggle room.
All right, moving on. The changes actually go beyond just vaccines and APIs. The third major area of focus here is that broader category of essential healthcare supplies, where the new goal is, you guessed it, total traceability. To put it simply, authorities want the ability to track every single item that became a bottleneck during the pandemic. This isn't just about the cure itself, it's about everything needed to administer that cure and manage the crisis from top to bottom.
And that means you need to go back and review your classifications for anything in these high-risk areas. We're talking about things like needles and syringes, cold chain storage units, and diagnostic test kits. All of these are prime targets for reclassification to make sure they can be tracked with pinpoint accuracy next time around.
Okay, we've covered the what and the why. Let's finish up with the how. This is your business checklist. Think of it as your roadmap to make sure you are fully compliant and ready to go by 2028.
First things first, you got to understand the timeline. The recommendations get formally adopted at the end of 2025. Then, the official text gets published in January 2026. That gives you exactly 2 years before the hard deadline of January 1st, 2028, when these codes go live everywhere. That clock is definitely ticking.
So here is your action plan. You can start on this today. First, categorize your products into those 3 main groups we've talked about. For vaccines, start adding new data fields now. Don't wait for the final text. For your APIs, build those evidence packages for every single one. And finally, you have to create a plan to manage both the old and the new codes during that transition period.
Look, this isn't a question of if your products are going to be affected. It's a certainty that they will be. So the only question that really matters is, when that switch gets flipped on January 1st, 2028, is your supply chain going to grind to a halt, or will you be ready?